The NFL draft is less than a week away. Everybody wants to know, where are those big name rookies going to go? We have some ideas. We're going to give our final predictions of where the big name skill position players are going to land in the NFL draft, so you know where they're going to play in 2024. We know the draft is going to start with the most important position, quarterback. So let's look at that group and see where these franchise signal callers are going to wind up. And let's start with the number one pick, and it's probably going to be Caleb Williams. Is there going to be a draft day surprise here, Chris?
No, I mean, come on. Caleb Williams is a Chicago Bear. I mean, the Bears know it. Caleb Williams knows it. The whole world knows it. If there's anybody out there who still doesn't think Caleb Williams is going to be on the Bears, I don't know. They're just trolling. He's going to be a Chicago Bear.
Yeah, it's usually not much drama before the number one pick because it's already signed, sealed, and just needs to be delivered. So Caleb Williams will be a Bear. But then, just like that, it gets murky. Who's going to be the next quarterback taken? Could it be Jayden Daniels? Where do you think he winds up?
My hope is that he goes to the Patriots. Not that I want Jayden Daniels to go to the Patriots. It's just that I kind of want the Commanders to take Drake May. I do have some slight concerns about Jayden Daniels. I think he's got a higher ceiling than Drake May, but I think Drake May is a bit safer. But both these guys are great. So I'm going to say that the Commanders actually go Drake May, which means Jayden Daniels will be a Patriot.
Well, I actually do think that the signs are pointing to Jayden Daniels being a Commander this coming season. That would make him number 2 off the board. Seems to be where things are leading to. Look, this is a risky pick. I understand that for reasons that we've talked about already. But this is a high upside pick. This is a franchise that needs a high upside player. And Jayden Daniels could immediately be playmaker for a team that already has some talented receivers. So then Drake May, you're projecting him going to Washington. Do you think that's a good fit?
Yeah, I think wherever Drake May plays is a good fit. I think he's a good QB. I think he's pro ready. Like you said, he probably doesn't have the ceiling of Jayden Daniels, but I also think he doesn't have the risk of Jayden Daniels. So I'm going to say he goes to the Commanders at 2, but that's a bit of wishful thinking. It's going to be Jayden Daniels and Drake May as the number 2 and number 3 picks, more than likely. Just, my Commanders fandom, whatever little bit I have left, kind of wants to see Drake May, but I'd be fine with Jayden Daniels as well.
It would be kind of funny to see them replace North Carolina quarterback with another one in Drake May after they didn't really pan out with Sam Howell. But hey, I feel like May is more of a Patriots pick here. Maybe I'm thinking of the former Patriots regime. This is going to be a lot different than what we are used to seeing in New England. But I still think Drake May will be their target. If Daniels is off the board, they're going to go next available. Some people think the Patriots might actually trade down and not get one of the top quarterbacks. I think that's absurd. The Patriots are absolutely getting a franchise quarterback. What other position could possibly be even half as important? They need a guy like May, and I think that's their easy choice. Then possibly the biggest wild card is, where will J.J. McCarthy go? Some people think he'll go as high as the top 3, and some people aren't even sure if he'll go in the top half of the first round. What do you think?
I think he's going to go either pick 8 or pick 9 to the Vikings. Not to the Falcons, obviously, and not to the Bears, obviously. But the Vikings are going to trade up either with the Falcons or the Bears at 8 or 9 and take McCarthy there and get their replacement at quarterback that they need. Look, they acquired an extra first-round pick this year. I think they use it to move up to this spot and get a quarterback.
I mean, there's still several teams out there that could use a quarterback. I think the team that makes the move is the Giants. Whether he falls in their lap or they move up, they don't really need to move up much. I think he's just going to be there. They're going to pull the trigger. Quarterback is pretty important to a guy like Brian Daboll. There's no way they're sold on anybody who's even in that locker room. Daniel Jones, if he even is healthy, I mean, come on. They need a quarterback. It's pretty obvious. I don't think they're going to pass one up here. And then, is there another quarterback that you feel is worth going in the first round that will actually be drafted in the first round?
I don't think so. We're already at 4 QBs in the first round. That's pretty high. I mean, I kind of thought maybe Bo Nix to the Broncos, but it feels like they could probably wait till round 2. So I think we're just going to see those 4 in the first round.
You could be right on that, and that's actually what I had initially, is just those 4 quarterbacks. But the more I really think about it, it's not really whether I think Michael Penix is first round, caliber in the eyes of scouts. I just look at this draft, and I think there's enough teams that are really, really desperate for a quarterback. Someone will pull the trigger here. We've been hearing him hyped up after his workouts. Everybody thinks he is ready to be a starter. A team that needs a guy like Penix to come in and just be good from day one is the Broncos. I think that they are going to be the team that takes him in round one. They get their quarterback, and they don't have to move up to do it. Now, at tight end, this year, of course, there's only one guy to talk about. It's Brock Bowers, but we're still not really sure which team will be the one that goes early tight end. Who do you think it is?
I think it's going to be the Colts. I think when Brock Bowers falls to them, they're going to take him. I know a lot of people are mocking him to the Jets, but I got somebody else going to the Jets who's a more high upside, more important prospect to the Jets that we'll talk about here in a little bit. So I think because he falls to the Colts grab him.
Feels like everybody wants him to go to the Jets, but I don't think that's what they do. I've got a similar mindset there, but the Colts, this is a team that, again, they've already got some young receivers. They just need someone to complement those receivers, and Brock Bowers makes a ton of sense. They've drafted quite a few tight ends over the years, and none have really stood out. This is a perfect match for a young quarterback like Anthony Richardson, who has another safety blanket at his disposal. All right, now what we've been waiting for, the wide receivers, because these guys can definitely make an impact right away. Is Marvin Harrison Jr. the first receiver off the board? And if so, to who?
He's definitely going to be the first wide receiver off the board, and I'm still going with the Cardinals. I know there's some buzz out there that they may trade down. And look, if they get a crazy offer, like if the Vikings offer 2 firsts, and some future picks, maybe they have to accept it and move down. But I think they're going to end up staying pat and taking Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, we never really know what's going to happen on draft day. There's all sorts of things that we don't expect, but to me, this almost seems too obvious. A lot of people are trying to say that there's going to be a trade, the Cardinals move down. Why would they do this? They know what they've got in a generational talent. In Marvin Harrison Jr., they're just going to go this direction. Now, of course, all sorts of buzz, and maybe Malik Neighbors is the number one receiver off the board. Maybe it's not going to go the way we expect. I mean, we'll see, but at the end of the day, where does Neighbors end up?
I think Neighbors ends up with the Giants. I know you got him taking McCarthy, but I think the Giants are sold enough on Daniel Jones. They're sold enough because they're paying this guy a boatload of money, and they don't want to pay somebody all this money to sit on the bench, behind a rookie, or draft a rookie to sit behind Daniel Jones. I think I could see him taking a quarterback maybe later in the draft, round 2, round 3, but I think in round 1, they're going for that wide receiver and saying, hey, maybe if we get Daniel Jones some help, it can fix him. And I think, unfortunately, Malik Neighbors ends up a Giant.
Well, I got the Giants taking a quarterback because they need one, but I have Neighbors still going to New York. The Jets. Look, everybody's trying to connect the dots between Bowers and the Jets, and yeah, that does make a lot of sense, but Neighbors actually makes more sense because he's arguably the number one, or at the very least the number 2 receiver in this class. Look, it's not like the Jets are suddenly loaded at receiver. Yeah, they need help for Aaron Rodgers. Garrett Wilson's there. They signed, a soon-to-be 30-year-old Mike Williams coming off a season-ending injury, and then what? This seems like an even more obvious pick. They need a receiver, and even after Aaron Rodgers is gone, they'll have maybe the best duo in the league with Wilson and Neighbors. So I got Neighbors going to the Jets. And you had the same idea, but slightly different here. What about Rome Odunze? This is now where we really start to get a little cloudy. Where could he end up?
Well, I'm with you. I think he's going to the Jets because I've got Neighbors going to the Giants, so Jets get the number 3 wide receiver off the board. I mean, if you're the New York Jets and you're staring at a tight end or one of the best rookie wide receivers, an absolute, almost can't miss prospect, you're taking the wide receiver. Way more upside, going to help your offense tremendously more than a tight end is going to. So I know everybody wants Brock Bowers to go here, but I think when Rome Odunze is on the board, that's who they're going with, not the tight end.
Well, as far as Odunze, again, when you looked at that reception perception report by Matt Harmon, he's right up there with his other 2 receivers. He can't fall that far. I kind of tried to fight this projection, but going to the Bears, it actually just makes too much sense. I know they just got Keenan Allen to add to DJ Moore. Do they need a receiver? I mean, could you ever have too many good receivers? Keenan Allen isn't exactly a spring chicken. Odunze, as a rookie, can grow and develop with Caleb Williams. So while I'm not totally convinced they'll go receiver early, I think if Odunze is there, they're just going to take him. After the big 3, it's not guaranteed who's going to be a first-round receiver, but we think Brian Thomas Jr. is almost a sure bet. But which team is going to go with Thomas?
I think it's going to be the Steelers. I think he just fits what Tomlin likes at wide receiver, that, physical, athletic, outside type of wide receiver. They traded Deontay Johnson, so they need a replacement there. And we know the Steelers are not scared of drafting players like this in the first round. I mean, a few years ago, they took Najee Harris in the first round. A couple years ago, they took Kenny Pickett. I think Mike Tomlin will see Brian Thomas on the board there and say, hey, we got to get this guy. We got to help this offense. So for me, I think he's going to the Steelers.
He definitely could go earlier than I'm having him projected here, going to Buffalo. Maybe this is it fits too well on paper, makes too much sense thing, but I'm going to say that Buffalo gets their Stephon Diggs replacement with Thomas, because whether he does it or not, whether you agree or not, he could develop into a true number one receiver to replace that production down the line. So he's got that size speed combination, obviously coming from a pretty good program that knows how to develop receivers there. And I think Thomas is going to be around at least in the 20s. Will he fall all the way to Buffalo 28? Well, that's the only thing I'm not sure about. But if some other teams go a different direction, as I'm predicting, then Thomas is a build. And then besides LSU and Washington, we also could see two Longhorn receivers go early. Let's start with A.D. Mitchell. Where do you have him going?
Well, I have him going at pick 28 to the Bills, because obviously the Steelers have already taken Brian Thomas Jr., so he's off the board. Going to talk about who the Cowboys are going to take here shortly. So I think the Bills land A.D. Mitchell, and I think this would be great for the Bills. I think he's so underrated. I think he can be a true X receiver in the NFL, a very productive X receiver in the NFL. So the Bills at pick 28, Brian Thomas off the board, they go A.D. Mitchell.
Yeah, this is where it gets tough. I find myself agreeing just as much with your picks. If Thomas is gone, then I think Mitchell to Buffalo makes sense. I feel like they're going to end up with at least one of those guys. But for now, the way I've got it going, I think Mitchell stays in Texas and becomes a Cowboy. We know the Cowboys maybe don't need a receiver this early, but since when does Jerry Jones draft based on need, right? Well, look, they let Michael Gallup go. They need somebody else along with CeeDee Lamb to really be a viable threat. Brandon Cooks is fine. He's there, but let's face it, a little bit past his prime. I think this is too good to pass up. And you also have the Cowboys going with a Longhorn, but the other one.
Yeah, I think Jerry Jones is going to fall in love with that speed of Xavier Worthy, and that's who we're going to see in Dallas. I don't think it's a good fit. I don't think it's who they should take. But man, Jerry Jones, that speed, I don't know if he can say no to that. So I think Xavier Worthy ends up a Cowboy.
Yeah, and after his combine performance, maybe he does go earlier than this. I have him in the first round, just barely, because I think the Chiefs will go this direction. We know about the Rashee Rice incident. Look, maybe that makes a difference this season or not. This is not impacting them long term. He's still solid. They added Hollywood Brown. But after that, what do they have? Is this a team that's all of a sudden deep at receiver? And I think the bigger question is, how long is Travis Kelce going to be elite across the middle? Because he has been effectively the number one receiver in this team for a while. And so at this point, they've got to look to the future and also maybe kind of just hedge their bet with the whole Rice incident. Worthy is a talent that is worthy of taking here. Pretty soon, we're going to see a lot of changes on NFL rosters with the NFL draft coming up. Fantasy football is already changing, though. If you don't know how, you might want to check this out.